In this final video, I will work through another example which is similar to the example from the beginning of this lecture. So we will be applying Bayes' theorem again, and I will also discuss briefly in general what Bayes' theorem tells us about these examples. And that is to say, I'll be discussing how Bayes' theorem reveals to us what has been called the base rate fallacy. So here is the example. So our protagonist, Joe, has just heard of the Zika virus and he wonders if he has it. Now, I could have used the COVID or coronavirus here, but I don't want to upset anyone. But you can substitute that into this example if you want it to be more relatable to our current times. In any case, to proceed, um, Joe goes to the doctor because he wonders whether he has the virus, and his doctor tells him the following. First, we hear that only 1% of the population has this virus, so this virus is pretty rare. And then, furthermore, his doctor says there's a blood test that can be done, but the blood test, like many medical tests, is not perfect. Okay, so just like the uh, witness in the example at the beginning, we have to think about the reliability of the test. So the test, when done on someone, will always come back either negative or positive. Okay, and here are the statistics about the reliability of this test. First, 95% of people who have the virus do test positive. So that is to say that the probability of testing positive, given that you do in fact have the virus, is 95%. And the flip side of that is that the probability of a false negative, i.e., testing negative if you do have the virus, is only 5%. Now, in addition, 85% of people 85% of people who don't have the virus test negative. So the true negatives, that is 85%. So that is to say that the probability of you testing negative, given that you don't have the virus, is 85%. And the flip side of that is that the false positives, i.e., the probability of you testing positive if you don't have the virus, is 15%. So Joe, maybe he's a warrior. Despite the percentage of the population is very low with the virus, Joe does take the test, and it comes back positive. So now, given all this information here about the population and the way the reliability of the test, um, we can ask the following question. What is the probability that Joe really has the Zika virus, which we'll formalize with Z? What is the probability of Z conditional on the test result being positive, which we'll use P to stand for? So what is the probability of Z conditional on P? That is the question. So we have this very reliable test, and Joe takes it and it comes back positive. And we can ask, what's the probability that Joe has the virus, given that the test is positive? So we can use Bayes' theorem to answer this question, because from the setup, we have all of the following probabilities. We know that the unconditional probability that Joe has the virus is 1 over 100, because regardless of the test, 1% of the population has it. So before any evidence, we have the unconditional probability that he has a test as 1% or 1 over 100. And the flip side of that, by the negation rule, which was discussed in the previous lecture on Monday, that means that the probability of not Z, the unconditional probability that Joe doesn't have the virus, is 99%. Now, from the information about the test, we know that the probability that he'll pass, sorry, not that he'll pass, but the probability that he'll get a positive result, given that he has the virus, is 95%. That is to say that the true positives are 95% likely, So the conditional probability of him getting positive on the test, given that he has it, is 95%. Now, as we saw, that the probability of false positives, so here, because 85% of people who don't have the virus test negative, that means that 15% of people who don't have the virus will test positive. That's to say that the false positives rate is 15%. So we know that the probability that he'll test positive, given that he doesn't have the virus, the Zika virus, is 15%. So from the setup, we're given all of these numbers. And if you recall from the discussion of Bayes' theorem in the previous video, all of these numbers are enough to calculate the conditional probability in question, which is the probability of Z given P. So let's do that. And what we do is we use our longer Bayes' theorem, which unpacks the denominator with using the law of total probability. So we can use Bayes' longer theorem with all this information to calculate the conditional probability of Z on P. So here we apply the theorem to this case. So we're wondering about, so the conditional probability of Z given P, and this is what the theorem tells us it is equal to. And the rest is simply just filling in these numbers from the setup. So here I've just substituted in the numbers to where these probabilities occur, and the rest is just math. And what we see is that the probability that Joe in fact has the Zika virus, given that he's taken this test that has come back positive, and even though the test is very, very reliable, what we see here is that the probability that he has a virus, given this test coming back positive, is actually very, very small. It's only about 0.06, which is to say that the probability is just about 6%. So that is to say that the probability that Joe has the virus, given that the test came back positive, is only 6%, even though the test is very, very reliable. And in applying Bayes' theorem in this way, we have seen that. But now you might ask, what is going on here? So we've shown that Joe probably doesn't have the virus, even despite testing positive. So why is that? And the reason for that, the reason this might be striking, is because of the Bayes rate fallacy. So what is going on here? How can Joe's chances of having the virus be so low, even when the test is mostly reliable? And the reason is that the virus is very rare. Only 1% of people have it in the population. And the very low unconditional probability of him having the virus drags down this conditional probability to being very low. So let's think of this in a slightly different way. So most people who test positive are just false positives. So why is that? So I want you to imagine taking 100 people at random from this population in question. Okay. Because only 1% of the population have the virus, one of these 100 people that we've taken, that we've sampled, only one out of 100 of them, or one of them, will in fact have the virus. Okay. Now I want you to imagine that we take all of the 100 people, one of them which has a virus, and we apply the test to all of them. Okay. So if we apply the test, for instance, to the person who does have the virus, that person's test will come back positive, or at least it's highly likely that it will, because there's 95% probability that if you have the virus, the test will correctly identify you as having the virus. So one of these people, the person who has it, will certainly test positive. But, and this is a crucial thing, of the 99 people of this sample, all the other people of this sample who don't have the virus, we know that 15% of them will test positive anyways, because we know that the false positive rate is 15%. So that's to say that about 15 of these 99 other people who don't have it, the test will incorrectly say that they do have it. So 15% of these 99 people isn't exactly 15 people. It's, to be more precise, it's 14.85, but just rounding up to 15. What we see is because there's a 15% chance that if you don't have it, the test will nonetheless say that you do. What that means is that out of these 99 other people, about 15 are going to falsely test positive. And so that means putting that together with the idea from the first that the one person who does have it will also test positive. What that means is that out of the 100 people who we've taken and tested, there's going to be 16 positive results. But only one of those positive results is going to be a genuine positive. And that is precisely, and 1 over 16 is precisely about 6%. And that is the answer we got here. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that regardless of the fact that the test is very, very reliable, because there's so few people in the population who have the test, there's going to be many people who have a false positive. So 15% of people who don't have it are going to test positive for it. And that's going to be a huge amount of people getting false positives compared to the amount of people who actually do have it and do correctly test positive. So if we just think of 100 people, we have 1 over 16 people who test positive actually having it. And so that is how the unconditional probability of the virus, the rarity of it in the overall population, affects how we learn from the evidence that someone has tested positive. So the moral is that when you're considering questions like this, you have to take account of the base rate. You have to take account of the frequency of what you're interested in the general population. So with the cab example, we saw we have to take account of the overall frequency of blue versus green cabs in the overall cab population of the city. And in this virus example, we saw that we have to take account of the overall, or the background frequency of the virus in the population. And in our example here, this virus one is really low. Only 1% of people have it. And so we have to remember that the probability that Joe has a virus depends on both of the following kinds of information. First, of course, it does matter how accurate the blood test is. But it also matters how common the virus is in general. And we can't simply focus on this first piece of information about accuracy, because then we'd be ignoring the base rate. And ignoring the base rate is precisely the base rate fallacy, which makes us think that in this case, for instance, this probability should be much higher, when in fact it isn't. And it's an unfortunate fact that many people make this mistake, and they only think about the accuracy of the test or the reliability of the witness, etc. Whereas if we are careful to accurately apply Bayes' theorem in our reasoning, then we can avoid this mistake. And again, the green and blue cab example from the very beginning illustrates this same mistake. So most people, in answering that question, ignore the fact that most cabs are green, and they only pay attention to the witness's testimony that the cab was blue. And now I want just to finish this by saying that if you answer these questions intuitively, or you still are struggling to see why the actual answers are the probability is very low, you shouldn't feel bad or you shouldn't be ashamed, because many people, regardless of how smart or well trained they are, still make this mistake. So here is a screenshot of a recent paper that showed that physicians, doctors, even make this base rate fallacy. So this is a really deep fallacy, or a very deep systematic problem which people make in reasoning with probabilities. and it's one which us in this course in understanding Bayes' theorem will be able to avoid.